Hello parents. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to homeschool your child, tips from a teacher. So I have worked with hundreds of students and I have taught my own kids at home. I've taught in the classroom, I've taught in public, I've taught in charter, and I've seen it all. Well, at least I feel like I've seen it all. So I want to give you my top 5 tips to teach your child at home and how the teachers do it. So let's hop in. The first thing is using a curriculum versus not using a curriculum. Teachers will tell you all the time, most classrooms will have some kind of curriculum for something. So when I say that, I mean that at least in my district here, we had a science curriculum because our district could afford that. And then we had some old math curriculum because they had already bought it, but it wasn't aligned with district standards. So they're like, well, pick and choose from here, but don't depend on it. And as teachers, we all love curriculum because we're teaching all these subjects, right? And it's so easy to get confused. And as an educator, we would have to pick and choose and pull and bring all this information together, and we would do unit studies to hit several standards. So what I'm saying, as a homeschooler, I would suggest using a curriculum because it's so much easier for you. Because when you get into the thick of things and we're talking writing, math, language arts, social studies, science, it can be so overwhelming to be pulling individual things from all these different sources, right? From Pinterest, from Teachers Pay Teachers, from all these different places. I'm not saying it can't be done, but to be honest with you, it's harder to do it. And I've done it a lot of different school years, and it's not my favorite thing to do because I'm always mindful of, like, am I teaching everything? Did I forget something? Did we get through everything we were supposed to get through? So as teachers, we prefer curriculum. Have we pulled from everywhere? Yes, but it's not our favorite thing to do because it can be a bit of a bear to do. 5 subjects, that's a lot. So that's my first thing. Get a curriculum and just make things easier for yourself. Don't make it super hard. Second thing is knowing that learning is a slow process. And I've had to remind myself of this for some reason, because with my kids, you hear my kids in the background, with my kids and I'm in front of them, I'll teach them something and I'm like, why don't you get it? And then I have to remind myself, I'm like, I wasn't like this in the classroom. It was easy to know that it takes a long time to get through certain concepts, and you have to circle back to concepts and make sure that they understand. And it can be, when it comes to your own kids, it's like you taught and you're like, okay, let's go. But you have to remember to slow down and do things. I have to remember to slow things down and do things step by step. So when you're at home and you get frustrated because your kid doesn't understand something, know that learning takes time. Learning takes time for you and me, everyone. And we just have to slow down and make sure that they're getting it and fully understand before we move on to the next thing. Because I'm telling you right now, like, it's so easy to be like, oh, why am I teaching this again? And that comes in with curriculum as well. Curriculum tends to be cyclical and they will come back to old concepts. So it's great to have curriculum, and that way you don't have to remember. The third thing is to create a learning space for your kids. Now, I want to be completely honest. I am not a Pinterest mom. And what I mean by that is I do not have the perfect little classroom for my children. They don't have the perfect little learning mat. We don't have any of that. That's just not who I am. I've done it in classrooms. I've set up these elaborate classrooms when I taught in the building. But my girls, they have their beautiful rooms and stuff, but we don't have this great classroom type area. We actually do our learning at the dining room table, and that seems to work for me and them, and that is what works for us. So think about what works for you. If you are a Pinterest mom, I support you 100%. Make that beautiful classroom and make it work for you. If you are not, welcome to the club. I welcome you in. You are not a Pinterest mom like me, and do it at the dining room table. My girls also have desks in their room that they do reading at, and then sometimes we do work in there, but we do it at the dining room table. So just creating a space, a set space of where you're going to learn can be super helpful, because even in the classroom, the kids had a certain space to learn, and that they know, like, when they sit down with paper, we're getting down to business, and our dining room table works for us. So think about what works for you. The next thing I want to talk about is to take time to plan. And I've said this in other videos, but I also want to point out, as teachers, every teacher, I want to say in every district all over the place, but I could be wrong, every teacher gets 50 minutes of prep time every day. So prep time was built into my days. I'm trying to think of the last schedule I had. Prep time could be anywhere. That's when the kids go to their specials like music, art, all that kind of stuff. And then we'd get 50 minutes to prep. So that includes prepping materials, planning things out, whatever you need to prepare for your day. And sometimes prep was at the end of the day. Prepare for the next day, prepare for the week. That is when you made your lesson plans and did all that stuff. So if you are teaching at home, do it like the teachers and give yourself time to prep. Now, I would say, granted, mine was 50 minutes. At home, you don't need 50 minutes to prep, because remember, I was teaching anywhere from like 25 to 35 kids, depending on what school year we're talking about. So give yourself time to prep. Even if it's 20 minutes a day, give yourself time to prep. It could always be like you prep 20 minutes before you start teaching them, then you do your teaching, and so on and so forth. So give yourself prep, because all teachers do it. And the last thing I want to point out is pull together all the things that you need. Now, I have fallen victim to not prepping effectively. So, for example, especially being at home, and I'm going to use my being at home example, and I'm looking at the thing I needed to get. So, if you're homeschooling at home, more than likely you need a printer. And I had a printer when we really started to get into the thick of things, and the one I had was a piece of garbage. And then I realized, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I need to get a good printer. So make sure you have a good printer at home. All homeschoolers need a printer. Like, more than likely, like if it's a coloring page or some awesome resource or some awesome unit you found online, more than likely you're gonna have to print it. Make sure you have a decent printer. Also, the things that you need to pull together: math counters, crayons, papers, pencils, a pencil sharpener. And the thing for me, when I came out of the classroom and I was just home full-time, working full-time, I forgot just how many resources I was using when I was in the classroom. So when I got home, I was like, oh, there's no giant printer here. There's no pencil sharpener attached to the wall. There's no printer paper. There's no, oh yeah, that's right, I used all that in the classroom when I was still there. So sitting down, prepping what you need for each individual lesson and what you're going to be using all the time, like crayons, it's important to pull all those resources together to start the school year, because you will be scrambling daily, and then it's going to feel overwhelming, and then you're not going to want to do it. I promise you. I can't tell you how many times I didn't effectively prep for a lesson being at home and in the classroom, and then I'm giving this stellar lesson, like, yes, they're getting it. And then I'm like, okay, now pull out your math counters. And they're like looking at me like, Mrs. Wright or Mommy, we don't have math counters. I'm like, ugh, like, it's like I ruined the lesson. So just make sure that you are prepping and making sure you have all the stuff that you need to teach effectively. So I hope that was helpful. That is my top 5 tips from a teacher and from my experience of teaching hundreds of kids. And if that was helpful, I hope you subscribe. In the comments below, you'll find links to different resources that I have. A Jumpstart to Homeschooling guide, a freebie, is in the comments. Also, my confetti planner is in the comments. So if you need some help, check out the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye.